This is not a normal podcast. Look around. We're on an island in the James River in downtown Richmond. Sharps Island, it's called. People camp here, fish here, party here. For over 200 years, Richmonders have built structures on this island. Inevitably, those structures were washed away, but the Richmonders, like myself, keep coming back, keep building, trying to gain a foothold. Why? For us, the water that surrounds Sharps Island isn't a barrier, it's a threshold, a doorway to a magical place. This acre of rock and sand is surrounded by the city, yet somehow completely secluded. On this podcast, our guests have to get in a boat and leave the world behind. I hope you'll come with them. All right, we did it.
All right. So do I get out first?
Yeah, so you start, just hop out.
I just don't sink you. I'll flip myself. I don't want to flip our
We did it, brother.
our host here. Yeah. It's fun.
You know Matt Perry, the CEO, the owner of Riverside Outfitters?
I know of him, yeah.
Okay, awesome, dude. He and I did a podcast together pre-COVID up in my treehouse. I'll give you the tour as we go.
Okay.
I think it's important that the first thing on the tour be the outhouse. Of course. The old girl. All right, we just got this going. Claire and I got this back together a couple days ago. When the train goes by, it's kind of a fun
Got the RTV dispenser here, yeah.
Oh, look at that. That's kind of fun, actually.
I was with Sean Fenner last night. He said,
No way.
He said to tell you that, yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I love that guy.
He's the man.
You guys have stayed in touch?
We're gonna go up to a hockey game that's here in BC. That's it.
He loves the Caps.
He loves it, yeah.
He loves the Caps.
Yep.
Podcast.
Studio.
Isn't it cool?
I need to get a studio like this. Mine's indoors, like a sucker. I got a great water level today too, don't I?
Oh, dude, it's amazing. Look, this is Edward's sculpture. Have you seen the sculpture up here?
You.
Do you know Keith Ramsey? He actually is a neighbor of yours. No. He's an artist in Richmond. He and I were like, well, look at that. See the goose sitting on eggs? That's why she's not leaving. She's sitting on a load of eggs right there. We commissioned Keith to build a sculpture. Isn't that sweet?
This is so cool.
So yeah, that's the dime store tour.
You got a great spot.
It's cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
All right, folks, I'm super excited for today's episode. Today we have, I'm going to get the whole list. Michael, get ready.
I've done some things.
Former Virginia Sports Writer of the Year.
Okay.
Former sports editor of the Times-Dispatch and the interim executive editor.
Thank you.
In charge of the whole paper.
Yeah.
The current host of the daily sports talk show on Sports Radio 910. You probably came straight from that here.
I did.
Okay.
I did.
And the current, I think, most interestingly, just to me right now, the current founder of the Richmonder.
Yep.
If you haven't heard of the Richmonder, it's RVA's newest news outlet,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, yeah.
And the only one that employs a nonprofit model.
Yes.
Correct?
VPM also is a nonprofit and is in the news space. They have Sesame Street. We don't. That is a key difference. We'll poach Big Bird at some point, but the contract demands are ridiculous.
So Michael Phillips.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So, Michael, you and I overlapped a little bit at the Times-Dispatch.
Yep.
You came, was it 2007?
Yes.
You came to the Times-Dispatch?
Yep.
Where are you from?
Wichita, Kansas.
Okay.
You've got the Book It shirt.
That's right.
Pizza Hut, founded in Wichita, Kansas. We've got the Pizza Hut Museum. If you ever come, I'll take you around.
Dude.
Just so you know.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. The Pizza Hut Museum. I actually, little known fact, I wish my dad was here to corroborate this. I once won one of those coloring contests at Pizza Hut.
Yes,
they would give you the thing,
yes.
and I won my family free pizza.
I mean,
when I was 10.
That's it. That's the high point right
Pizza
there.
Hut, and I can still picture the Pizza Hut in Fort Washington, Pennsylvania, outside of Philly, with the jukebox, the coloring competition.
The big plastic cups.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
So you and I overlapped a little bit, but we never really worked together, I don't think.
Yeah.
Back in the day. Give me the sort of Cliff Notes version of Michael Phillips, your stay at the Richmond paper of record.
I was off doing things because I covered University of Virginia sports for a little while in Charlottesville.
Right.
And then they sent me up to D.C. I covered the Washington Commanders, and I think you know them by their previous name,
right?
The Washington football team.
Yes.
Yes.
And there was a name before that, but I can't remember.
Doesn't ring a bell.
As an Eagles fan, yeah.
Had a lot of fun doing that, NFL, and then was sports editor, was in charge of the sports section.
Right.
And I think you were out by then. You had moved on to other
yes,
endeavors.
My last I was the outdoors columnist till 2013.
Yeah.
So that was when I hit the bricks.
And then, started this the Richmonder, just local news. It's important. It's important to the community. It's important to all of us that we stay connected, get to know our neighbors, know what's going on in town, and that's the heart of what we do each day.
I want to get to the Richmonder, but I want to get to sort of why the Richmonder exists or why it needs to exist.
Yes.
I remember when I was at the TD, before I was the outdoors guy, I always wanted to be a sports writer. And starting at the Times-Dispatch, it was like you couldn't have... I started there in 2001. Like, you couldn't have planned it with, like, the death of newspapers any more perfectly, right? Like, I remember there was just constant consolidation. If someone left or if there was a firing... They just consolidate, right? They never hired new people for the most part. So, eventually I sort of had a moment where I realized it just wasn't going to work. If I wanted to stay in Richmond, my wife works here, we were starting to have kids. It just wasn't going to work at the Times-Dispatch. Did you have a similar moment? Was it more of like a gradual realization? How did that work for you?
Yeah, because you get to know the ownership. But there's two things that happen to newspapers. Right. One of them was completely out of their control. Right. The other was completely in their control. Completely out of their control. Like, the newspaper used to be movie listings, TV listings, classified ads, jobs. Like, if you need to buy a couch now, you don't go to the newspaper. Right. If you need...
I bought a couch on the Times-Dispatch when I first moved to Richmond.
Right. Yeah. If you find jobs there. I don't think anybody's doing that anymore. And that's completely out of their control. Right. The thing that was in their control was we used to have ownership right across the street. The Media General, the Morton family, and they would come in and walk around the room, and they went to U-Crops, and they went to the coffee shops, and they were in the community. Right. And it's owned now by a company in Iowa, and they don't share our concerns, and they don't share our knowledge of local events, and you see that kind of hollowing away at what we do, and it's just this realization, of I don't think we're ever going to be able to steer this ship in the direction it needs to go.
I'm assuming... you obviously came here from Kansas out of college. You always wanted to be, a sports writer? Was that the first goal?
Yeah, I like entertaining people. Sports is a great place to do that. Because in sports writing, you get kind of the best of all of humanity. I always loved outdoors writing and loved you and T and everybody else down there. This notion of, like, connecting us with the world and painting that picture. Right. Yeah, I loved writing and sharing that. And sports was just a logical fit to do that. Okay.
And then you transitioned into administration and eventually... It was the writing was on the wall. What did you do in between the TD and what you're doing now?
Yes, so they offered me the job as the managing editor. Okay. And
of the entire Times-Dispatch.
The whole thing. Okay. That's a good job. But all those realizations, and I told my wife, I was like, I don't think this is for me. And she's
How long ago is this?
2 years ago. 2.5 years ago. And she was like, well, don't do it then. Right. But that hadn't occurred to me. If somebody's offering me money to do a thing, I guess I should do it. Right. That was great advice. So I said no. A couple of months later, they said, thank you for your services. Here's some lovely parting gifts, and sent me on my way, which I totally get. Right. Yeah, they want people who are all in there, and that wasn't me, and I was already mentally drifting at that point. Right. The day they laid me off, I got a call that night from the guy who programs the sports radio station. Okay. He said, you've always been great on air. Do you want to come do a show? And I said, I don't know.
So you had been kind of like a guest for other people's shows.
Yeah, I'd come by from time to time. I knew all the players there. If you remember Wes McElroy. Yep. Yeah, an Eagles fan.
Yeah, Philly guy.
There's so many of you here.
Yeah, I love it.
So many of you
here.
So
much.
I said, I don't know how to do a radio show. You figure it out. It's easy enough. Right. And here we are 2 years later, and I still don't know what I'm doing. Right. I come in, we talk. I'm good at talking. They tell me.
And the direct deposits keeps going in.
The direct deposit keeps working. Talk about what's on my mind. We do all sorts of, it's sports, but it's tangential and it's life and stories and everything else as well, which keeps it fun and interesting. And that paid the bills and provided the health insurance while I was out,
figuring out the next move.
Feet on the street for the Richmonder and, nonprofit model. So we're asking people to invest in this, and we're not going to give you money back, which is a tougher sell than like stocks. Give us money, we'll pay you back, plus some later. Like, give us money, we won't ever give you money back. But it's this realization, So as the newspaper has declined, everything's found a home. Classifieds have found a home. Job listings have found a home. Pizza coupons have found a home. The news never has. And it's this realization of, and this is sad for me, for you, we'll never make money doing the news.
Right.
We can't go to city council, keep an eye on what's going on, and do that profitably.
Right.
That's tough for me, like as a guy who's like,
so in
the
your
journalist
mind,
swaggering into the room.
In your mind, that ship has sailed. Like, so if someone tried to, like, what's there is no counter argument right now, I guess.
I can make money in media.
Yeah.
By being loud or clickbaity.
Right.
By having a loud opinion or by doing a clickbait like,
right.
you won't believe
Listicles,
what Andy Thompson was wearing on Sharps Island the other day. That guy,
right.
You know, billion clicks.
Right.
That kind of thing. You could do it either of those ways, but you like the core of what it is, what's going on in town, who do you need to know, who's doing good things.
School board, city council.
We believe that's a public service that's just as important as any other 501c3 you can think of, right? Because city council, the school board, they sit down, and before we started, city council was meeting, and there were no journalists in the room, right? And I believe that even if you never read an article we write about city council, you benefit from us being in the room. Because when somebody's sitting in that room watching them make laws, they behave differently, fundamentally. And it's not gotcha. We're not there to get them and trap them. We're just there to say, here's what happened today at city council. And when we say that, better outcomes happen for everybody, just through sitting in the room with eyes in the room. So that's the public service, that even if you never read the Richmonder, you benefit from us being here.
I feel like it's a strange time, and you sort of hinted at this a second ago, because like we, as in the body politic, we've never consumed more news-like content.
Agreed.
Right? Like we're
Agreed.
always, and it's not, some of it we might not, it's not the traditional definition of news, but it's content coming at us, right? But nobody in word-based news seems to figure out how to make money, just what you just said. The nonprofit model, you've talked a little bit about how the sales pitch go, but like, do you feel like this is the answer?
So we had a really exciting week last week. So we have the big donors who stepped up and kind of got this thing going.
That before it was ever launched.
Right. The seed money.
Okay.
We asked people, if you love us, kick in $10 a month, which is, got a low barrier to entry, but hey, put some skin in the game with us.
Right.
We crossed 1,000 people last week.
Okay.
Which is awesome.
That's awesome.
That's 1,000 people in this town that don't just care about news, but got their credit card out for news.
Right.
That is heartening to all of us. Like, okay, with people who are reading, we see the numbers, lots of people are reading, but also they're acknowledging this matters and I want to fund this and this is really important. So that was really exciting for us. So many people do so many variations on this. There's the Free Press newsletter. I don't know if you know about that, right? There's a lot of
Cardinal News is
Cardinal
a
News
thing,
down at Roanoke, Substacks and TikToks and Instagrams.
But most of those, Cardinal News is nonprofit, right? But like Free Press and those, like Substacks are all profit.
Those are for profit,
So how does, I'm curious, before it was this past September when you launched, the Richmonder went live, what was the, the sales pitch for it? First of all, who did you get money from early? Before you could, before anyone could give you $10 a month? How did you get started?
So we have the list on our site. You go to therichmonder.org and there's a donate button at the top. You can click it. It won't drain your wallet just yet. There's a donor list. We account for every penny we give. We've got some local families, some names you'll recognize. Bold,
so like the U-Crops and the
bold-faced names, they're on there, and some people who you don't know who have made nice money for themselves, doing business and efforts. And it was sitting down with them and saying, this is a community good. And the other thing is, if we can keep the news in front of the paywall, we will have a better impact. We will have a bigger impact. So you think about during the school board race last year, the newspaper, the leading newspaper,
the old gray lady
sent out a survey to everybody, the candidates, got their answers, put it on the website, Public service, where do they stand? We did background checks. And one of the candidates had been convicted of embezzling 3 times.
Wow.
Which is important information to know, right? So if that's only for people who subscribe, well, the non-subscribers get votes too. They're part of the community too.
And now they're not informed.
And now they're not informed, and now they're not in on this. So it's about inviting everybody to the table, having that conversation, making sure everybody gets the chance to be educated.
So that's the sales pitch to the corporations and the big wallets.
Yes.
Say, don't you agree that we all need this kind of thing? And they were...
And you think about how Richmond has changed. You know this, I know this, right? Like Northern Virginians coming down here, Scott's Addition. And those are all people who didn't grow up here. And we need to bring them into the conversation and into the fold. That, if they're just there watching MSNBC or Fox News, staying national, would they get the same vote you and I get? They get a say in how this city turns out too. We need them to take a vested interest in it. Because it's important.
So it sounds like it all it came together pretty quick from leaving the Times-Dispatch to 2 years later. You've already raised the money. The Richmonder starts, right? I mean, you're good to go.
Yeah. So
that's a quick.
We incorporated in May and we launched in September. And
this past May, so almost a year ago.
That was the stupidest and best thing we did.
Is it like what? It put like a ticking clock there, like
because we said there's an election. We need to be in front of the election because there will be a lot of eyeballs, there will be a lot of interest, and that was my biggest early letdown. The election did not move the needle in the way I thought it would.
The local, like the mayoral election, that kind of thing.
The mayoral election did not move the needle like I thought it would, and it was like, oh, we rushed this whole thing, and then the water went out.
Right, which I wanted to ask you about that.
And we had our moment. And we were there, and we were ready, and we were on top of it. The other thing is, Graham and Sarah were ready, our two first reporters, Graham Uman, Sarah Vogelsong. And I worked with Graham at the paper. He's the best.
He was at the TD for years.
Yeah, phenomenal reporter. And I knew Sarah by reputation.
Sarah Vogelsong.
Where
did she come from?
Anywhere and everywhere. She was running the Virginia Mercury.
That's right.
When she came over, but she's done award-winning climate reporting and features and all sorts of things. And I sat down with both of them. These are people with actual paying jobs that put food on the table. I was like, I have an idea. And they both heard it and were like, I'm in.
Wow.
I was like, but again, I have an idea. You have money deposited in your bank account every 2 weeks. No. This is good. We went in. I was like, we got to do this. To have that talent and that enthusiasm, we got to sprint. We got to do this. And we added Victoria, who's from Asheville, as our third staff reporter, and she's been awesome. Brought us a little fresh blood. She's a pickleball fan, so I think she'll fit in here.
Has she seen the new padel courts? We're not far. Do you know about this?
I've walked by
in the canal,
but it's not pickleball. It's
called padel.
It's a little more European.
It's very
a little more European. I my Grey Poupon and some padel.
That's right. I mean, you probably should wear a Speedo when you walk in that place, right?
And that's its own debate, right? Of the public art and the canal.
Yeah,
and,
that's a really interesting debate.
It's a really interesting debate, and somebody's got to share that information with people and sit everybody down at the table and be a trustworthy source of information on that.
Gotcha.
This is the spot. I've never been out here. This is so
cool,
so cool. We're going outside.
You were telling me about the reporters. You hired a third reporter recently, right? In the last couple of months?
We did. We hired Victoria.
And she's covering education, schools, that kind of thing. How big, how big do you want the Richmonder to get? What's the right size? Do you have a vision for what it should look like?
I want it to be regional ultimately. I think all stories are regional stories, right? We're not in Henrico, we're not in Chesterfield, and a lot of stories are going untold there. Hanover as well, obviously, is a place where there's a lot going on and there's not as much of a news infrastructure. But I also think we talk about things like the island and the James and the water and all that. These are regional stories. They affect all of
everybody,
us.
Right?
Cell phones in schools, right? You cross the line, it doesn't stop being an issue. Those are still very much issues there. So I want us to be regional, grow as big as we can find the support to do it. And I think that there's so many areas, arts, culture, all those different things where we can put our tentacles ultimately.
And you have not a ton, but a bunch of freelancers as well, right?
We do.
How many freelancers have you employed so far?
Just one who owns an island so far.
Just the one.
So,
that's right.
But the rest of them are islandless, which is a real, we're working to fix that demographic. 25 people who write for us occasionally, college
covering
kids,
anything
people
from
who've retired. That's the gamut. Outdoors, obviously. Arts, events, profiles. We got a story coming up about the dog bus that takes dogs to doggy daycare.
That's amazing.
What a service.
That's genius.
It's genius.
Yeah, you have a weather guy, right?
Sean Sublett. We got a weather guy.
Religion columnist, right?
We do. Faith and values,
What's the public reaction been like so far? You hinted at this, and I want to get to, obviously, the water crisis and what that meant for you guys, but I thought that's interesting. I didn't realize that the mayoral election and the elections generally weren't sort of the needle mover that you had hoped.
Yeah, and certainly, I think we did great work around them. I was really proud of the work we did, and it found an audience, but it didn't, I think what we found is there's a circle of people that are really deeply really deeply care about city council and city hall and the city.
Right.
And they found us.
Right.
And then I think there's a bigger circle of people that maybe if you're like, how do you want to spend your Saturday night? Their first answer wouldn't be, let's talk about what city council did this week.
Right.
But if we tell the stories in the right way, they are interested and they will read them.
Yes.
And we got to find those people one by one in the community and bring them in. And I think what's cool has been going up to people around town or, at the park or whatever, they're like, man, Graham just does such a great job of covering city council, or that story by Victoria was so cool about education. It's like, I know you didn't read about that a year ago, so to bring you into that conversation, to bring you into the table is really cool.
Okay, that's interesting, because it's obviously what you're doing is not happening in a vacuum, right? Like it's a very competitive landscape.
Yeah.
There's an old newspaper. There's Axios. There's
I think BizSense does a phenomenal job. Axios does a great job.
Obviously the NBC 12, the TV news, radio news.
CBS
what is that? What's your sort of approach? What is the Richmonders' approach to that competitive landscape?
There are more stories to tell than there are people to tell them.
Okay.
And I'm counting everybody. Axios, BizSense, TVR, all of it. We want to operate in our lane of telling these great stories. And I want them to succeed in their lanes. I just think the days of this is the place you get your news from on high is probably over. There's probably never going to... You think about the Times-Dispatch, the market share it had at its peak, 200,000 copies being printed around town. I think those days are gone. I think there are lanes and people can be experts in those, but I told a lot of people in town this as we were starting, like, if you're dominating a story, I'm going to lift that up as opposed to competing, because there are so many more stories we can go tell that are important stories that need to be told.
With that said, I mean, I feel like that's the perfect segue to the water crisis, because you're also, unlike the Times-Dispatch or even Axios or BizSense, you were trying to build a brand that didn't exist 9 months ago, right? So you had to compete, right? Like you got to go get the stories that no one else is getting, or people were telling them in a different way, or getting new information, right? Like, what was that opportunity like? Sort of. Can you take me through it, like, minute by minute? Like, first of all, what was the realization like in your newsroom as that broke?
We got texts at about 2:30. Hey, like, the water's, fading.
What day of the week was that?
Monday.
Was it a Monday?
It was a
Monday.
It was a Monday. It was January 6th. Monday, January 6th. Started as an ordinary day. It didn't. It was snowing.
Literally. That's true.
Yes. We got the text like, hey, what's up with the water pressure? And at 2:34, whatever, I called DPU and said, hey, what's going on? And they said, the power went out at the water plant earlier today. And we fixed it, and everything's good.
Got it.
And I said, so the water's going to come back. And they're like, yep, water will be back any minute now.
And that was at 2:30.
And that was like a stand-down moment. We had the crisis. We're on alert.
Ready to go as a news organization.
Stand down. There was a text that made the rounds of somebody who was like, I know somebody at the fire department, and they say fill your tubs. You remember that?
Yeah. Oh yeah. My wife was working. She works at the ER. Yeah. She called me, and my daughter and I were filling everything. Yeah. She had the information somehow.
We got that text, so we checked in with somebody else who was like, fill your tubs. We're like, now we're back on high alert. Now we're back on high alert. And part of it is in all this aftermath or whatever, they're like, the city didn't communicate well. I'd push back against that a little. The city communicated very well what it believed to be the truth, which was there was a problem, we fixed it, everything will be fine. Come to learn, they didn't fix it and everything wasn't fine. But the counties are like, we needed to know this was a problem. Well, the city needed to know it was a problem too, because you had that span of noon to 6 where nobody was pushing the panic button. When it would have been very helpful to have had somebody smash that panic button. Get us going.
There wasn't enough panic.
We sent the email to everybody that there's a boil water alert before the city. And when we talk about the nonprofit and the mission, like, that's the mission. I would love to live in a city someday where they execute the basics on that, and we don't need to be there for that. We don't live in that city right now. I love this place. I've been here 17 years. I love Richmond. We don't execute the basics a lot. And I hope that will change. I hope we can be a part of that change.
But it makes an opportunity for a news gathering organization also.
Big opportunity, and that's how a lot of people found out about us, was we were on top of the updates all week long and letting people know that.
And that's what's fascinating to me is that that the opportunity was to start building that brand. Is that right? Like,
I think that, you know, people learned who we were that week and who we continue to try to be. Like, there are so many opinions out there.
Right.
People ask me, when are you going to put comments on the website?
Right.
I don't think ever.
Right.
I just don't think people are lacking
Right.
places to share their opinion at the moment.
Right.
I don't think that's a societal vacuum that needs filling.
Right.
I think what we can do is say, we've looked into it and here's what's going on.
Yeah.
You think about City Council this week, right? City Council this week, they're discussing, they're trying to make the budget work.
Right.
And somebody said, let's not give raises to people who make more than $150,000 a year.
Right.
The city's very against this. Like, hey, those people deserve raises too.
Right.
You've got councilors who are like, that's a lot of money. We don't see our role as arbitrating which is correct.
Yeah.
We see our role as saying, this is how much it will cost. These are the arguments, and both people can feel heard by the public.
So do you envision adding because like newspapers, for instance, as you well know, has always had, you know, editorials and op-eds people who do offer those opinions.
Yes.
Times-Dispatch still has them.
Yes.
Can you envision adding those voices, or is that not going to be the way it works?
I don't say never, because never is a long time when we're young.
Right.
I think.
Super young. Yeah, I feel you.
Just a couple of young guys hanging out on the island.
Right.
At the moment, we have no plans to do that.
Okay.
That is not part of our brand, not part of who we are.
Okay.
That's not going to be part of who we are anytime soon.
Why?
I just think people really value. There's what people say they value and what they actually value, right? Like, people are like, I just want unbiased news.
Right.
But they want unbiased news that says their team's winning,
Right.
Like, you know, go red team. Like, that news calls it like they see it. They're pointing out our team's the best.
Right.
Or, you know, like the blue team dominated today.
Right.
I need unbiased news that says that.
Right.
We haven't got caught up in that, which I'm just tremendously...
You don't want to get labeled.
I'm tremendously grateful for that, because I think we are not, like, as local citizens, we are not the red team and the blue team.
Right.
It's potholes and it's schools and it's all these things that just deeply matter to all of us.
Right.
And we can have good, productive debate about how those things happen. But I don't want to pick sides and alienate half the audience. I want them to know we hear everybody. You mentioned we have faith and values.
Right.
We also have, you know, transgender stories.
Right.
We hear everybody.
Yeah.
We want it to be a table for everybody to feel heard and have their viewpoint shared.
What if
their views shared? Yeah.
Yeah.
Who they are? Yeah. Viewpoint's probably not the right
If
word, but
sort of help me finish the thought. The Richmonder will be successful. What does success look like in 5 years?
Success is if something happens in town, you type in richmonder.org to find out what it is.
Like, it occurs to me to do that.
And we tell you.
And you
and we're there when we deliver. That if you're what's going on in town, the Richmond. I open up that email, I'm gonna meet somebody cool that I didn't think about meeting.
Right.
That I didn't know was doing cool stuff in the community.
Right.
It makes me feel a little more part of Richmond. Right. Like, I moved here 17 years ago. I'm not related to George Washington. I'm not, like, I don't have a house on Monument Avenue.
Right.
Like,
it's in Wichita. Right.
It's a tough nut to crack.
Right.
Bringing everybody to that table together, I think, is a cool opportunity.
That's great. All right, you want to have some fun?
No.
I mean, that was serious stuff, Michael. It's fun time.
It fires me up. I love what I do every day, and I'm really blessed to do it. And I'm out here on an island with you, and I know you feel the same.
Like,
about
I
this.
mean,
like,
we're in Richmond. How cool is this?
We are
literally, you're not doing this in Philly. I mean, I hate to say it.
Yeah.
You know,
we're living the dream.
This is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
All right, so let's have some fun with our final questions.
I'm ready.
You ready?
I'm ready.
Some of these I've asked other guests. Some of them will be just for you.
Is this Family Feud? Do I have to score 100 points to win the car?
Let's go with yes. You did. All right, so you're marooned on Sharps Island. Choose 3 people to be here with you for a week.
Okay.
One of them has to be a celebrity. Minimum one. They can all 3 be celebrities.
3 people who we're going to hang out with for the week.
One's got to be a celebrity.
Okay. I'm going to stay local, too.
Okay. Very Richmonder of you.
Can I do local celebrities?
Yes.
Okay, great.
I feel like we need more of those. Like,
I mean, this podcast, we're making.
It's happening.
Jason Alley is going to be on the island.
Okay.
We're gonna
Celebrity chef.
We're gonna eat well.
Yeah, I love it.
A lot of good choices in that. We got Brittany Anderson here too. We got.
Yep.
I'm not picking sides or anything.
Right,
we got
Jason Alley's a good place to start.
Jason's right. He's kind of the OG of Richmond celebrity chefs. I feel like. Lucy Dacus is going to be out here.
Okay.
We're gonna have
music.
We're gonna have entertainment at night.
Her on the podcast.
We got to get her on the podcast. And Justin Verlander is going to come out here so we can throw the baseball, have a catch.
Sadly, when you made him your third, does not leave room for his wife to join us here. Join you here.
Not a Richmond celebrity.
Right.
But a celebrity for
nonetheless.
sure. Yes.
All right. So Verlander, Dacus, and that is that's pretty amazing. That's
we got a good Richmond crew on the island here. Yeah.
I love that.
I feel like we could make room for Tim Kaine. I feel like he could patch up the canoe. He's going to be sneaky functional.
He would get
in this
you
environment.
back and forth. That guy. Where'd the rest of my questions go?
We had too much fun.
Yeah, we had too much fun. All right, so I want to go with sports a little bit because you're a sports guy.
I love sports.
Nobody agrees with me on this one. Nobody likes when I say this.
Okay.
It's obviously true that Jim Nance has the most punchable face in sports.
Hello, friends.
Agree or disagree? Exactly. Hello, friends. And if it's not Jim Nance, it definitely is, but if it's not, who is it?
Boy, there's a lot of announcers in that kind of cheesy...
In sports broadcasting.
Howard Cosell,
he's dead. You
take a swing at that. Marv Albert, there's some...
Is Marv Albert still alive?
I don't know.
He might be dead. The toupee.
Opportunity.
So first of all, first things first, Jim Nance, yes or no?
Jim Nance does not have a punchable face. Tony Romo can come and go. I love Tony Romo. I know he's polarized. Jim, unbelievable. What? You know what? Some people don't like that. I do, like Gus Johnson.
Yeah,
on
it's
Fox.
fine.
I love that. I bring a little energy to the game.
Gus Johnson.
I love Gus Johnson.
All right, let's just.
Sports are supposed to be fun. We worked really hard to suck all the fun out with instant replay and NIL and all that.
Right.
But every once in a while, you see something cool. You're like, sports
that was crazy.
Sports are fun. Let's go.
Right.
I also kind of a little bit know Jim Nance.
Oh,
yeah.
God.
So
and you don't strike me as someone that really wants to. I'm an Eagles fan, so I want to punch faces. You know what I mean?
I saw Jim Nance in New York, an immediate thing forever ago.
Right.
It was right after UVA had lost just the 1 seed.
Okay.
And it was we were doing an NFL interview.
Right.
And after we're done, I said, if you got a couple extra minutes, I want to talk to you about UVA.
Right.
You were there, the 1 seed.
Yeah.
And he was great about it. We talked about it. He said, next time we're at FedEx Field, come say hi in the booth.
Nice.
And I did. And
that's super cool.
And he remembered me in the conversation. And so I can't be.
This could change everything for me. That's actually really cool.
Probably not going to punch him. Yeah.
That's actually really cool. I guess the hello friends and the Masters is
I've got some broadcast people who I would punch.
Right.
That's for a different podcast. That's for Sharps Island After Dark.
Yeah. After hours. I love that. All right. My son told me I had to ask because he's a young kid.
Yeah.
And you probably know his answer.
Okay.
LeBron or MJ? Who's the GOAT?
Will Chamberlain, University of Kansas.
Okay. And a Philadelphian, by the way.
100 points in a game.
Yeah.
Anybody do that?
LeBron or MJ?
All right, they're so different. LeBron is the greatest physical talent we've ever seen.
Okay.
He's
a freak.
He is at 40 years old.
Right.
And he's still putting up triple doubles.
Right.
That should not happen.
Right.
There's 3 of those guys ever, and they're not MJ.
Right.
MJ was the most competitive sucker of all time.
He's a killer.
He would never ever lose. To me, MJ and Kobe are buddies in this.
Right.
And LeBron and Shaq dominated with their bodies.
Okay. I like that.
But MJ just in their prime, straight up.
Right.
MJ didn't lose. He refused to lose, so he would have won.
Okay.
Yeah.
MJ.
Will Chamberlain.
Give me a good dad joke.
Give you a good dad joke. Yeah.
You are dad. How old are your kids?
11 and soon to be 8.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're right.
So you're right in dad joke territory.
We are right in peak territory. All right. What's a pirate's favorite letter?
I mean, I feel like
Go ahead.
It's got to be R.
No. A pirate's first love is actually the sea. Yeah, good try.
That's really good. You want to hear mine?
Of course.
What's the leading cause of dry skin?
What?
Towels.
I like it. I like it.
All right.
That's fantastic.
Have you been following the Allianz? I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. The amphitheater project.
That was really nicely done. Because I'm in radio world, we give away tickets, and I had to learn how to say it.
Let's go, Allianz.
Yeah. No, nicely done.
So you've been following the
It's German.
project. Have you checked out the lineup? Like, you going to any shows, Mother Phillips?
At the moment, I do not have tickets to any shows. I'm not opposed to going there. I just haven't.
I have.
Didn't get my $100 Dave Matthews tickets.
Boys to Men tickets. You want to go?
Boys to. I was always more of a New Kids on the Block guy.
I'm definitely going to see Boys to Men in June. 100% chance. Speaking of Philly, long story. My wife and I are going with these two friends who are literally coming in from Colorado. Yeah. They're using it as an excuse. The dad and I have always had this hilarious Boys to Men love.
Yeah, this is great.
So like literally, it's like a 50-year-old Israeli man.
This is so good.
And his family coming in from Colorado.
This is so good.
To go to Boys to Men.
I love this. I'm glad the Taylor Swift thing has crested because it was very controversial in my house for a bit because we had the Eras tour.
Right.
And the girls wanted to go. Right. And Dad's not made of money.
Right.
But the thing is, Andy, Dad went.
Dad went to the Eras tour.
And they didn't. And
wait.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
I don't understand.
I was in Las Vegas for work.
Okay.
100% true story.
I can't believe you ever told them this. Like, I can't believe...
In Las Vegas for work. It was the third night of the Eras tour.
Okay.
So it hadn't kaboomed yet.
Okay.
And I'll admit to being an amateur Swiftie.
Yeah, sure.
Great music. The Pandemic albums are very good.
Love it.
There with our friends, and we got free night in Vegas.
Right.
And we're like, should we go? It was $250. And we were debating like,
oh, who's we? You and your wife?
no.
Oh, you and like coworkers?
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
This is so much money. Like, could this possibly be worth it?
Right.
We paid.
$250.
Incredible show.
This is before you knew people were spending $1,500.
A month later, you see people mortgaging their kids to go to the show. And you're like, oh, we saw something. Okay, yeah. So I've got that on them for life.
Man, I'm sure they really were pissed.
As a Chiefs fan, I grew up in Kansas.
Yeah, of course.
It's this weird thing of like, my whole life for 35 years. Right. They're like, oh, what football team do you like? The Kansas City Chiefs. Right. They're like, that's a team. You factually named a team. Good for you. I have no opinions on this matter.
Yeah.
Like,
middle of the country.
Like, good for you.
Right.
You successfully named a football team. And now, like the last 5 years, what's your favorite team? The Kansas City Chiefs. Oh, you're a bandwagon. Oh, yeah.
Patrick Mahomes. Oh, yeah. That's kind of a fun place to be.
It was until the Super Bowl this year.
Yeah. Sorry about that. That was a fun place to be. All right. That was fun, sir.
This is great.
Good work.
This is a great spot.
This is what a spot, right?
This is the world's first outdoor podcast.
Who doesn't see this and think you got to do a podcast here?
I do.
Like, it just makes sense.
I told you I was going to tell you one more story.
Oh, yeah, please.
I see him waving, but
it's fine.
But blow through the stop sign at third base. One year in Richmond, there were 2 indoor football teams. They accidentally had 2 franchises. And so the one booked the Coliseum, and the other went to the Arthur Ashe Center.
Right.
Think about how tall the ceilings are at the Ashe Center. They painted the field goal posts on the ceiling. So when it was time for a field goal, they'd line up, the ref would line up behind the kicker. They'd kick it, it'd hit the ceiling, and the ref and judge, had the roof not been there, if it was good or no good. And then they'd all argue about it for a minute. So that only lasted a couple weeks, and they tried a new gimmick. They were the world's first indoor football team to play their games outdoors. And I think there's something here.
There's something here.
This is the world's first indoor podcast recorded outdoors.
Recorded outside.
Something to think about.
Yeah, that's genius.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, that was awesome. That was awesome.